Walter Busuttil is the Director of Research and Training for the organization Combat Stress, which provides mental health support for military veterans. And he joins us from Royal Tunbridge Wells in England. Thank you so much for being here with us. So what we didn't hear in that interview was when Wolf was asking sort of the condition of the family members. They said they're in pretty good condition, but you know, we know that they will face complicated trauma to cope with. These first few days to help them are crucial. Take us through what they might be dealing with now.
Yeah, I think every time I've dealt with hostages and POWs, the first thing is they're very disoriented to start with when they come out. Things like they've been time deprived, they haven't been eating properly, they've been in fear of their life. They never knew, for example, whether or not they were going to be released, even though this might have been promised. So they initially may look really happy, and of course they will be joyful at having been released, and there'll be huge relief. But some of them will kind of realize, the adults especially, that they're not, there are other hostages who need to be released too. So they might start feeling guilty, for example. And then the symptoms one would look out for are they sleeping properly? Are they fearful? Are they vigilant? Are they anxious? Are they eating? What's their appetite like? Is their mood all right? How are they adjusting? So there are kind of subtle things that as a psychiatrist, I'd be looking out for. Having said that, not everybody will develop any of these symptoms. Many will not develop symptoms at all. Some people will actually grow from this experience. It would be a positive thing that have had a chance to, if you like, look at their lives while they were kept hostage and reevaluate their priorities and think, well, actually, I need to have a better relationship with my mother or with my father, with my siblings. So for some, there's post-traumatic growth, which is a very positive thing. Of course, this can exist also with mental health symptoms. From a physical point of view, one will need to be aware that, if there's been, head injury or a lack of food, lack of vitamins, all that needs to be checked out. So although people will say, oh, they're in good physical shape, all the tests need to happen, and that's really, really important as well.
Most of the experience dealing with situations like this is with older people, soldiers, for instance. But some of these hostages, they're extremely young. How does that complicate things?
Yeah, well, with young children, say below the age of 5, they'll display their negative emotions and the negative impact in their play. So professional well-being and mental health practitioners will need to look out for the kind of games they're playing, if they're aggressive or violent, or else if they're very withdrawn. The older children will display similar symptoms to adults. So it would be the younger children, but very, very young children possibly won't display many difficult signs, but withdrawal would be one of the main things that one would look out for. Now, the ordeal lasted a long time, but it wasn't an extremely long time. So the chances are that a lot of the hostages, including the children, will adjust quite well to their environment. Of course, there's a lot they don't know. They don't know what happened to some of their relatives. Some of their relatives who were safe, who weren't taken hostage, may have passed away. So there are issues there that they'll need to catch up with what's been happening. And of course, that needs to be it needs to be drip fed. They won't be able to take all this news suddenly. So they will need privacy, and of course they'll have left people behind that they love who are still hostages.
Yeah, a long road of healing yet ahead. Still a happy day for so many families. What about the families of the loved ones who weren't released? Does this, seeing these hostages being released, does it make things better, give them hope, or does it increase their suffering because they have to watch the happy reunions while their loved ones are still captive? We still have to think about the help that these families need psychologically going through this experience.
Yes, definitely. They would have needed support throughout. All the family members ideally would have had support once the hostages were taken. there are kind of issues that would affect reunion and reintegration of the family. So if, for example, people feel, well, my husband is never going to come back, and they start a grieving process, then that grief could complete. And if that grief completes, then the reunion and reintegration within the husband who's now released back into the family could be damaged, as it were. So that could be more difficult. Of course, for some people who are hoping that their loved ones will come back, they may never come back, and that is another problem that the mental health and well-being practitioners will need to cater for, and these people will need help to overcome this terrible ordeal.
Yeah, let's certainly hope everybody comes back safely and gets the help they need. Really appreciate your insights, Walter Busuttil. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much.